The shrine sat under a low hill where the road narrowed and travelers slowed. It was not grand, just a stone niche and a retaining wall, a rough statue of a saint. With hands folded and a worn bench that had the shape of many people's bottoms carved into it over long winters. Pilgrims paused there to rest, to tie boots, to murmur a quick prayer and move on. Some left coins in the hollow, some left knots of thread. Mostly they left silence and the steady small attention of passing feet. People who lived nearby treated the shrine like a neighbor, polite, present, and not prone to drama. There was a woman who kept the inn across the way and a boy who ran errands for the baker. The innkeeper, Anna, kept a little candle in the niche year-round. The candle was a small point of warmth more than into place when people treat them as useful objects rather than treasures. One autumn evening, when the air smelled like roots and the lane's puddles held lamplight, a traveler came by who noticed the cloak move. He was a quiet sort of traveler, older than his years, with a satchel and a habit of looking at things as if checking them for luck. He paused at the shrine, rested his palm on the statue's base, and then, because his feet ached, sat on the bench. The cloak had been draped there the way someone might leave a child's shawl, careful, habitual. But as the traveler slid down, the cloak shifted as if settling the space for him, though no hand touched it. He meant to leave nothing more than a whispered thanks. When he stood to continue, he turned and saw the cloak lift. A patch of darker fabric beneath. It was not a startling motion. It was almost polite, a small adjustment, like a sleeve straightening. Traveler smiled and went on. He told no one. Travelers often noticed things and tucked them away. But the next morning, the innkeeper found the cloak folded differently, its hem smoothed in a way she had not done. People noticed the same thing. The boy from the baker's stall saw the cloak twitch one evening when he passed, and an older woman said she had seen it lift like a hand turning a page. None of them thought to call for priests or scholars. This was not a loud miracle. It was a domestic oddness, the sort that invites questions more about habit than horror. The monastery's young scholar heard of it and came down to look because scholars like details. He examined the cloak for thread, for wind, for trick knots. Thread, for wind, for any mechanism, for the slope of the stone, for the way dew might lift a folded cloth. He found nothing conclusive. The cloak was old wool, mended in neat patches, smelling faintly of smoke and rosemary. There were no pins, no hidden strings, no mechanical cleverness the village folk could detect. When he left behind a small note, observed, no trick found. He pinned it to the shrine's wall as if adding a ledger entry to the shrine's slow account. People read the note and felt both relieved and disappointed. Relief that it was not a trick, disappointment, because the world loves a tidy explanation more than a continuing mystery. Over the next few weeks, the cloak did things that were not easily explained away. It would be folded when someone had left it flung open. It would be draped across the bench on a night when rain was expected, though no one had come by to place. Once, during a cold dawn, someone found it wrapped around the statue's shoulders as if shielding the carved hands from frost. The statue looked warmer for it. Bring offerings, not because they expected thunder or riches, but because they liked the idea of thanking whatever small thing kept the shrine steady. A woman left a scrap of dyed cloth. A boy left a candle. The innkeeper left a cup of broth in winter and, once, a small patch of mending cloth. None of these seemed to stay long. The cloak might rest with them for a time and then move to the bench again. The movement felt selective, not indiscriminate. It folded around those who were careful, who paid attention to small needs. Some offered stories to make sense of it. An elder said, not unkindly, that the cloak belonged once to a pilgrim who had vowed to protect weary feet. Another thought it was the saint's own shadow, taking human shape where the world was thin. A practical smith suggested stray drafts in the wall pockets. Each account said as much about the teller as about the cloak. People liked answers, but answers did not fully fit. The cloak moved when drafts were impossible, and did not move when curious crowds pressed close. It preferred solitude. One evening, a traveler of the sword who notices both small things and big ones arrived at the inn soaked from rain. He spoke kindly with Anna and asked about the shrine. When she told him, he asked for permission to sleep beside the bench for a night, plus a place by the hearth. Anna, generous and tired, agreed. The traveler spoke softly into the dark, reading only a few lines of a prayer and stopping often to listen. It was not a performance, it was the way some people keep watch. At midnight, the cloak moved. In a way that made everyone in the room still, it rose and settled around the traveler's shoulders, tucking itself to protect him, not tightly but as one tucks a blanket around someone who has been sleeping fitfully. The traveler woke, not startled but aware and grateful, and he looked as if someone had smoothed his step. Not everyone embraced the cloak's actions. A man named Corbin, who kept the courtyard and had a sour face for small mysteries, argued that the cloak made people lazy. He declared the town had stopped paying so much attention to locks and size. He said they owed less to wool and more to watchfulness. People argued, but most simply continued to act in gentler ways, leaving a patch here, tending the candle there. The cloak's presence nudged their habits, without demanding obedience. Winter followed, and the shrine's small warmth was tested by real cold. On a night of hard frost, someone left an infant there, wrapped, not abandoned, but for a moment unattended while the mother ran to fetch bread. When the mother came back, shivering and wild-eyed, the cloak was snug about the child, and the small face under it slept calm. Tears ran down the mother's cheeks as she clutched the infant. The cloak had not been there when she left. It was there when she returned. She left. It was there when she returned. She told no one she suspected magic. She only pressed the baby to her breast and thanked a world that kept such wonders anonymous. Smoothing a shawl left tangled. The town settled into a new normal. People left small thanks, and the cloak continued its gentle selective caretaking. Years later, when Anna was older and the inn's beams held the stories of 100 nights, someone asked her why she kept a candle at the shrine. She answered simply, "Because light is polite." She did not claim to know more about the cloak than that it encouraged politeness. People laughed and nodded. They had learned that. The cloak taught a soft lesson. The world sometimes answers small kindnesses in kind. If you go by that lane now, you will likely see nothing dramatic. You may, having tended the shrine. The cloak, if it moves at all, will do so in a way that respects privacy and need. It is less a spectacle than a neighbor. It prefers to be useful.